Welcome to the Digital Inclusion Summit, how inclusive innovation can empower the world. As we all know, digital technology is reshaping the world and driving the future development. How we can adapt to this rapidly changing environment, and also how can we more effectively promote digital inclusion. So today we have a lot of distinguished guests from international organizations and NGOs. They will share their insights and also their showcases and on how ICT technologies can be used to benefit every person, home, organization, to promote sustainable society and economic development, to build a fully connected, intelligent world. So first of all, may I introduce our first speaker of today, Mr. Ken Hu, the Deputy Chairman of Huawei, and he will share Huawei's understanding and initiative regarding digital inclusion and how more people can benefit from the ICT technology. Ladies and gentlemen, let's warmly welcome Mr. Ken Hu.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. This is for the first time we host this summit in our annual flagship event, Huawei Connect. First of all, I would like to welcome all of our partners from NGO and our friends from medias. I can promise you that the session this afternoon will be more interesting than sessions in the morning. Because in the morning, we talk a lot about technology. But now we're going to talk about people. In the past long weekend, I went to visit a friend of mine and his family. I showed his parents my latest Huawei smartphone with a foldable screen. But his parents said, "Hi Ken, oh, this is fantastic. This is amazing. But we don't like it because we don't know how to use it." And then they said, "Ken, you know, now it's even harder for us to get around in the city. Because when we get out on the street, almost all the taxis were booked by you guys from the smartphone, from the app store. We all have friends, we all have parents, we all have grandparents. Ladies and gentlemen, we are trying to introduce the latest digital stuffs like smartphone, AI, cloud, VR, AR, to make our life easier. Some of the people, like the parents of my friend, are left behind. For me, this is not right. I believe you will feel the same. So today is a great honor for me to invite all of you to discuss while we are trying to promote the digital technology to make the world a better place. What can we do to bring everyone in? How can we make sure nobody is left behind? At Huawei, we have an action plan. We call that TECH4ALL. It is easy to remember, just a few numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me give you a little bit more detail about that. Number one, vision. We all know that at Huawei, our vision is to bring digital to every person, home, and organization for a fully connected and intelligent world. But through the Tech for All initiative, we want all of our employees and our partners to clearly understand that this vision is not just for technology. Ultimately, the purpose of the technology is for people. We believe that every person should be able to benefit from the development of digital technology. And every person should have a place in the future digital world. Number two, values. We want to make sure that all of the technological innovation can combine the business value and the social value. At Huawei, we have a very popular product called Rural Star. I'm sure that some of you have already heard of that. That's a mobile base station for the rural area. It was used to connect the people in the rural area. It is very small, easy to install. You can even install that on a tree, on a small tree. And it's powered by the solar. With this solution, the Rural Star, at Huawei, we've already helped more than 100 million people in different countries to get access to the wireless service for the first time in their life. I remember that a couple of months ago, one of my colleagues shared with me a video taken in a village called Tobora, which is around 500 kilometers away from Abuja in Nigeria. In that video, we helped to set up the Rural Star base station in the village, only one. And when we get it up and running, the villagers were dancing around the tower. Actually, yeah, it's not the tower, it's just a wood stick. Yeah, that's the only way we can install the base station in the village. You can imagine that, how happy they were when they made the first phone call to the outside world. It also reminded me how happy I was when I saw the television for the first time and I was around 10 years old. When I saw the image and the video on the screen, my eyes lighted up, my face lighted up. This is quite meaningful. More importantly, the tariff of mobile services in Africa dropped from $5 per minute in early 2000 to several cents right now. At Huawei, we are so proud of that. In the Tech for All initiative, we have three priorities: technology, applications, and the skills. We want to make sure that any of our technological innovation should be affordable and accessible to all peoples. And we will help the community of developers to develop more applications to fit the needs of different regions, different countries, different group of people, and different industry. And we will work with the local partners and the local governments to make sure that all people will have the opportunity to enhance their skills in the digital era. And I hope that through those efforts, people like our parents or grandparents or any special group of people will not be isolated from the digital technology anymore. Thank you. The digital inclusion is a very broad topic, and our resource is always limited. So we have to make sure that our focus is impactful. So in this initiative, we firstly focus on 4 target domains: healthcare, education, development, and environment protection. Later on, I will share with all of you some of the successful stories. And I met with Mr. Topher White yesterday in the afternoon. We talked a lot about the environment protection. Hi, Topher, you're here. Can you stand up? Yeah, he's the guy in the video for the rainforest protection. I couldn't imagine that Topher and his team did such a great job. They used the digital technology to protect rainforest in more than 10 countries in just a couple of years. So I look forward to his sharing later on. Next, I will share with you our target. The target is very simple. Our target is, in the next 5 years, we're going to help another 500 million people to directly benefit from digital technology. The target is simple, but it's very challenging. And we hope that more people can join us to amplify the effort. Now let me share with you some of the projects we are working on with our partners. According to the WTO, in the world, there are 19 million children who are visually impaired, and 70% of them are preventable or curable. So let me share with you a quick video on how we can help with the AI and smartphone.
Every day, 11,000 children are born with visual impairments. Many of these kids will go undiagnosed for years. This will impact their entire life trajectory, and in some cases, even their life expectancy. It doesn't have to be this way. 70 to 80% of visual impairments are either preventable or curable if detected early enough. The problem is we are still using assessment tools that can't diagnose everyone, including children who can't speak or those who don't have complete control of their motor functions. That's why we created Track AI. With Track AI, we're able to capture the smallest movements of the eye. Using TensorFlow, an open-source machine learning platform, we're able to identify patterns in these movements. These patterns can point to potential pathologies.
At Huawei, we're constantly looking for ways that our technology can be used to help others. So when we understood what the Dive team were doing, we just had to help. It's incredible to see how they're using our technology to better the lives of children.
With the processing power of the Huawei P30, physicians can use Track AI to make assessments in real time, even offline. And with High AI, the developers are able to leverage this processing power in the ways that works best for them.
We believe that AI can push beyond what's humanly possible, and that it has the potential to enrich lives in ways that we're just now discovering. We're excited to keep evolving this technology. We're proud to enable those who use it to make the world a bit better every day.
Yeah, this is amazing. With Tech AI, an untrained professional can do the same work as a professional eye doctor. This was not possible before. For children, it means that they can grow up with the ability to see the outside world. And for me, this is just a perfect cooperation across the engineer and the doctor. And today, we're really excited to welcome Dr. Victoria TECH4ALL, who is the doctor in the video, join us as well. So Victoria, can you stand up? And she's going to share with us her fantastic story later as well. So next, I will share with you another example in Kenya. Right now in Kenya, there are around 40% of the people don't use the mobile internet. You know, the coverage is 80%, but half of the people don't use the mobile internet. That's very strange. We thought that, oh, it might be the cost. What's the reason it might be the cost? But we found out that 32% of the people in Kenya are not interested in internet. They don't like it. And 20% of the people didn't know how to use the internet. And 20% of the people didn't use smartphones. So it's not just about the cost. Actually, it's the lack of awareness and the skills. To solve this problem, we will launch a DigiTruck later this month with our local partners. You've already seen that in the video. This is a picture of the DigiTruck. It's a 40-foot steel cargo container, which we will convert into a mobile computer lab. When it is ready at the end of this month, it will have 20 laptops, mobile phones, broadband connections. The experienced trainer from the local NGO will drive out to the remote village to teach the students and the teachers about the digital skills. Our target is to cover at least 6,000 students and 1,000 teachers in the next 12 months. This is a joint effort between Huawei, Close the Gap, and NGO based in Belgium, UNESCO, and Safaricom, the leading mobile operators in Kenya, and also the local government. We believe that the joint effort will help us to build a truly inclusive digital Kenya. Today, I'm really excited to welcome all of you as our partners and friends join us in this summit. I know that it's impossible for us to solve the problem of the digital inclusion overnight. But I believe any step will help. And small progress will help us to make a big difference. In Chinese, it is 聚沙成塔. And I do believe that technology is good, and we should make it for good. So please join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. King Hu, for your excellent opening speech. And from your speech, we know today's inspiring speakers better. So in September 2015, 17 Sustainable Development Goals were adopted, aiming to solve social, economic, and environmental issues. Today, it is our great honor to have Ms. Anne-Therese Ndong-Jetta, a Director of UNESCO Regional Office for Eastern Africa, who will present how ICT and AI technology can help achieve sustainable development goals. Ladies and gentlemen, let's warmly welcome Ms. Anne-Therese Ndong-Jetta. Welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much. I have the pleasure, as the Regional Director for UNESCO in the Eastern African region, to share with you and build a case why the present approach of Huawei responds adequately to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Why do I say so? From this morning's keynote speeches and from the statement of our CEO recently, we know very well that we are on the same course and that the 17 goals can be grouped into 5 categories. We've heard from him that they are focusing on people. So we think of the 17 goals in terms of 5 Ps. We heard about 5 different objectives, and here we're looking at these Ps, and the Ps fit and align with the vision and the focus of Huawei. We're looking at people, P number 1. We're looking at the planet, P number 2. And the purpose of it is to ensure that there is prosperity, that there is peace, and that it is done through partnerships. If we're talking about Tech for All, it comes to the same focus of leaving no one behind, ensuring that every child, every youth, and every adult is able to benefit from the 17 goals. And here we talk about hunger. The first P, focusing on some of these basic needs. And it's not only needs that are present in Africa, it is needs across the world. So it's hunger, it is health, we want to reduce poverty, we want to ensure that there is education for all, and we also want to ensure that there is gender equality. The second P is talking about the planet. And again, I think reference had been made of the environment. If we really have people access technology, access education, we really want to make sure that they live in a world, in an environment where they will be safe and they will be able to live in a harmonious situation. So here we have SDG 6, SDG 12, 13, 14, and 15. In particular, when we talk about SDG 14, the oceans, we talk about life underwater, we want to make sure that there is health, ocean health. We also talk about the SDG for prosperity, and these are SDGs 7, 11, 10, and 8. And one of these is also an area where Huawei does a great job in really building this focus and vision on sustainable cities, smart cities. What does that mean? And all what we do it in the interest of peace and harmony in our environment, in this world, to reduce inequities. And this can only be done through partnerships. And that's why we are here today. We have, from the UN side, we have NGOs, but we all have to work together to build collective intelligence through collaboration. And I went on to really identify that it's not just out of imagination. When the world leaders met 3 years ago, it was also looking at ways in which we can scale up. And there is no better way of scaling up than through technology, using smart technologies. And in every one of the SDGs, there is mention of the use of technology. For the first one, where we're looking at by 2030 to ensure that all men and women, in particular the poor and the vulnerable, have equal rights to economic resources, as well as access to basic services. Appropriate new technology is mentioned. In another, which is looking at education, and we know that, especially in Africa, education is a huge challenge. As much as we talk about access, we talk about quality, but we are far from getting there. And the best way that we can really make sure this happens quickly and with quality, we know again, it will be through technology. So it says by 2030, substantially increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills. Now, when we talk about access to education, we know that there is the issue of conflict and wars in Africa. In the part of the region where I serve, we have already over 2 million refugees. So how do we really make sure this goal is realized? In another of the education SDG targets, it talks about by 2020, substantially increase the number of youths, adults, and adults who have relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship. How can you do that? You need smart technologies. Further on, it also talks about enabling technology, in particular ICT, to promote the empowerment of women. And reference has also been made by the CEO. We also talked about the environment earlier on, and it's, maybe let me look at the SDG 9, which talks about significantly increase access to information and communication technology. You will discover this is already an area where we'll be working with Huawei, as already referenced by Ken. And then in terms of the environment, let me use the SDG that's focusing on oceans. We know how important marine life is. We know how important it can contribute to our own health. And therefore, again, there is reference that there should be significantly increased access to information and communication technology, and strive to provide universal and affordable access to the internet in least developed countries by 2020. Increase scientific knowledge, research, and technology for ocean health and marine spatial planning. You would realize that another war that can happen that would increase the further decrease of access is when you have small island states, some of which I really cover, like in Seychelles and Mauritius. Without spatial marine planning, it may be difficult to demarcate which part of the ocean belongs to Seychelles and which other belongs to Mauritius. Again, through smart technologies, this is happening. We talk about cooperation, and the partnership is all about collaboration. There is no one entity that can really meet these huge needs. And so therefore, in the 17th goal, it also talks about the use of ICTs. What is UNESCO doing? UNESCO has already prioritized the need to work on digital literacy. We need to make sure that no one is left behind, and in saying that, it's not only about accessing physical buildings, but also accessing learning through digital technologies. So right now, there is what we call the Working Group on Education for Digital Skills for Life and for Work. So it's not only for learning, but it's also to develop skills. And in one of its quotes, it says, digital skills development takes place across a full range of education contexts. It's not only in the formal, it can also be in the informal and the non-formal. So this is the extent to which UNESCO wants to engage, so that when we talk about access for all, tech for all, it means all. And there are further examples where we are really using digital skills enabling technologies to ensure that all learners have opportunities to cultivate relevant digital skills. There is the issue that would focus on content-specific planning and provision. You know how difficult it is when we say we want to reach all. We need to have the data that would enable us to plan properly and actually reach all. There is the issue of blending non-digital education approaches and digital applications. We cannot really depend simply on old ways of doing business. We have to open up for new approaches using digital technologies. There is also the possibility of enhancing digital competencies at the workplace, at schools, hospitals, across productive sectors of the economy for wealth creation. I seem to be really very much focused and interested also in the issue of food. And therefore, when we talk about digital technologies, we must begin to look at how, through smart technologies, we'll be able to help our farmers. We'll be able to help in ensuring there is less of post-harvest losses and more for people to consume. We also, in general, through the digital skills enabling technologies, work to respond to capacities and innovation across the spheres of life, in school, in the economy, productive and research domain. So let's not just focus on the learners. We also want to make sure there is application so that after school there will be employment. And here we go with a few areas in which we are engaging across the continent. Through Youth Mobile, there is more and more interest in governments in our partners to focus on youth mobile. So the Youth Mobile Initiative exists in more than 20 countries, providing young girls, especially the girls, and boys with skills and confidence to become creators of digital innovations. This is definitely the best experience that has happened so far. I teamed up with another student to develop, this is from one of the students just giving testimonies, and she said that I teamed up with another student to develop an app that studies how to provide a platform that makes farming more effective, profitable, and manageable, providing farmers with adequate information on crop management. And the founder is of Kilimo Digital Application. You have 30 university students from Kenya who were trained on learning to code and coding to learn at Women in Tech during Nairobi Innovation Week. And one of the interesting things, I don't have it here, but which I could share, is out of this very experience, we were able to have some university students who partnered with their university professors to come up with an application that is now responsive enough for students in the university to be able to really access information in quality time to respond to problems of sexual harassment, to respond to questions of mental health. So these are all happening. And in UNESCO in particular, we have different offices. In Nigeria, UNESCO trained over 60,000 illiterate women and girls in ICT. And this was done with Procter & Gamble, which really has an intention of reaching 50,000 more. In Ethiopia, with support from HNA Group and Siang Foundation, UNESCO is supporting teacher training institutions to use ICT for quality, gender-responsive STEM teaching and learning. Apart from that, UNESCO also works with governments in the area of culture, for instance, where with museums and Ministry of Culture, we are working on what is now called documentary heritage that are all digitized. We also work on building knowledge societies through conferences and workshops. And at the level of the Ministry of Education, you have what we call the ICT pedagogy integration training for school leaders. We continue on, and we also talk about UNESCO and Airtel, along with the Gabonese Ministry of Education. There again, they're working to help young people to develop skills in coding.
11 e-tutors were initially trained to become master trainers who would be skilled to train additional teachers in both the face-to-face and online environments. Later on, the e-tutors trained 30 teachers from selected schools representing Rwanda's 30 districts, both face-to-face in Kigali and then afterwards back online at their schools with internet connectivity provided by UNESCO. The e-tutors were also involved in the drafting of the course material based on open education resources. After training on the ICT Essentials for Teachers course, teachers are more confident to use ICT in the classroom, which in turn results that their students are afforded more opportunities to engage with ICT tools, computer-assisted instruction, and have access to the internet for research and engaging with online content.
ICT helps us to really get to do the research we need, find the material on our own, and then discuss it before even a teacher comes in class.
Hari nk'igihe dukora test online, tukayikora prof adahari, ugakora online ugasubmitinga. Si ngombwa ko prof aza kureba ko wakoze test. Mbona ari byiza byateje n'imbere education mu Rwanda.
Experience so far shows that the ICT Essentials for Teachers course has added value towards the implementation of Rwanda's priority of ICT in education, as well as the new competency-based curriculum as per policy documents of Rwanda.
The ICT is being used to transform education from the teacher-centered methodology to the learner-centered methodology. So which means the teacher is no longer at the center of learning. The student should also be active in the learning process.
Byasabaga umwarimu kuzenguruka ashaka ibitabo, ashaka igishushanyo mu gitabo, ndetse rimwe na rimwe ukabona biramugoye gukoresha umwanya ashaka ibyo byose, ariko mu kanya gato yabonaga ko gushakisha izo mfashanyigisho yicaye n'iwabo byatumye abasha gukoresha iryo koranabuhanga mu kwiyegereza byinshi kandi icyarimwe.
And therefore, this is just an example where in Rwanda, we are able to work with schools. And the interesting outcome of all this is the increased interest to also respond to some of the problems for which they need solutions. In examinations, for instance, where you have high malpractices, we're working with them on e-assessment. And on the issue of collaboration with Huawei, mention has been made of the DigiTruck. And it should be noted that here we are not only looking at rural populations or underserved populations. We want to specifically target, as I mentioned earlier, the refugees in our region. We have over 2 million of them. So how can we, with government and device partners, work on specific, context-specific planning, scaling up successful provision, applying existing technologies in innovative ways. So the DigiTruck would really serve this very phenomenal area of work where we would no longer be looking at costs, as has been referred to, but really making access to tech to all. And in another area where we are focusing our work with AI, and this is very with Huawei, is in the area of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, as opposed to the fears that seem to be really building up in some quarters in Africa, it is supposed to be an enabling one. Because artificial intelligence is not new. It's been with us for over 60 years, and there's been a lot of resistance. But in recent times, we have seen the advantages. And what we are looking at is to address humanity's most critical issues in development across the various domains. Ensure that governments find alternative means to scale up success in stories to enhance access to quality goods and services. Foster new development opportunities while respecting universal values and ethical principles. So it's not like we will shut our eyes to some of the bad ways in which artificial intelligence could come to harm our society, but one in which we look at the good side of it. And we feel that with artificial intelligence, especially the way it's being looked at by Huawei, will be able to build hope for a brighter and prosperous tomorrow and break the cycle of inequalities, inequities, and the monopoly of knowledge and wealth in the hands of the minority. AI is also, as I started looking at the SDGs, very relevant for all the 17 SDGs, which I have tried to show in this case. Because what we are looking at is really scaling up. It's massive, and you cannot just do that by using traditional models. Let's take, for example, in education, where the focus, as soon as you talk about access, the issue is about how many schools do we build, how many teachers should we train. But with AI, we may be able to build algorithms that would be more responsive to ensuring that you can access curriculum, you can really get information, you can pursue courses anywhere, anytime. I give an example of what's presently happening in Tanzania, where through the XPRIZE of Elon Musk, we were able to go to the remotest of populations where children do not have access to schools, they do not have teachers, to really get software companies to develop appropriate technology and the software that could really help these young people to learn. It's a wonderful story to follow. Look it up, and you would see the life-changing experiences of these children in very remote populations, very remote countries in Tanzania. In UNESCO, we see the value of artificial intelligence. And this is the reason why in Africa, we've already organized a sensitization conference where we talked about artificial intelligence. And in every aspect of the sectors that UNESCO works in, artificial intelligence would help us to make a difference. I've already mentioned education. in science and technology. We know that there is the need more and more to ensure that there is an early warning system to improve food production. With climate change, what is happening? We see situations where farmers using traditional approaches would sow their seed too early, and because it's rain-fed agriculture, they miss the timing, and it is losses for the rest of the year. What do they declare? They declare drought, simply because the rains came at the wrong time when they could not. Another area where we are working is in culture and heritage conservation. Now, how can we deal with it better than ensuring that through smart technologies, we are able to preserve information, we are able to preserve history, and in such very interesting way that generations yet unborn would still know, as in real time, what took place several years before. And it can go on, but, and a big but, ethics is important to look at. Just like we look at the ethics in science, we are also in UNESCO focused on the ethics in artificial intelligence, which AI could transform the future of humanity for the better and for sustainable development. But there are risks and challenges associated with it. There's an urgent need to create a better understanding of the ethical challenges related to artificial intelligence. Another example here, and this is work in progress, UNESCO's International Hydrological Program, IHP, works with universities. On one of these universities, the University of California, where we have developed the GeoServer application to estimate real-time precipitation worldwide using artificial neural networks. And most recently, we have started a collaboration, and this is really in prospective collaboration with Huawei and the ICT Academy on artificial intelligence. The first intervention took place recently, and we hope that through the approach of cascading, we'll bring more universities and professors to be more comfortable with artificial intelligence. The partnership here is very, very crucial, and we hope together with Huawei, we would be able to reach a lot of the universities. So Tech for All is something that we must go away with, because we want to ensure that we are able to reach vulnerable groups, we are able to build capacities of institutions and individuals, and that the digital literacy would be something that we talk about and not the digital illiteracy. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your kind attention, and let's leave this place understanding that it is Tech for All, leaving no one behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne, for your wonderful sharing, your wonderful insight and inspiring cases. Thank you. And next, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce Mr. Daniel Karimi, the head of the Fourth Industrial Revolution Network of the World Economic Forum China. And he will share his insight into how ICT influences the digital economy and society. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Daniel Karimi. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Such a great pleasure and honor to be here with you this afternoon. Let me start perhaps by introducing very briefly what the World Economic Forum is. Some of you may be familiar, some of you may not. We are an international organization for public-private collaboration. We strongly believe that the greatest challenges of today, inequality, technological transformation, climate change, do not stop at national borders and requires leadership from business, governments, academia, coming together, committed in improving the state of the world. Now, Hu Laoshi gave you already 5 reasons why technology should serve humanity, and spoke about 5 Ps: prosperity, people, peace, partnerships, and planet. And I'll give you a story about one gathering and 2 books. It's kind of our World Economic Forum version of Yishan Er, Arshan San, Sanshan Wang Wu. So the one gathering obviously is Davos, that started in 1971, and next year we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary, but I will speak about it a bit later. The two books I wanted to mention, one was written in late 60s by our chairman as part of his academic work back then. And it's really, it came together as a Davos Manifest in 1973 with a premise that was very, very simple. That the purpose of the company is not only to maximize value to its shareholders, but it has obligation to everyone, to its own employees, to the society at large, to the government, to the planet. And now its notion became mainstream, but it was not in late 60s, early 70s. That book gave us intellectual left leg, on which we stood for about 5 decades. And in the mid of this decade, we received our intellectual right leg, on which we will be standing for the next 50 years. And that was a book that introduced the notion of the fourth industrial revolution. Why is it important? Let me briefly speak about the industrial revolution, and then I will come back to the sustainability. The first industrial revolution was in late 1700s, early 1800s. It was all about mechanization of production, transportation, steam engine, great progress. The second one was in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It was all about electrification of communication, of transportation, modern factory, telegraph, so forth. The third one, after World War II, 1960s, 70s, was about computerization of everything. And today we live in a world of the fourth industrial revolution, which is all about AIization, IoTization, 5Gization, you name it. It's all these technologies coming together and building upon each other. It's not born in a vacuum. Now, why is it so important? Because every technological revolution and every industrial revolution brings tremendous opportunities that are hard to imagine just a few years before the change occurs. But it also brings tremendous challenges that we need to be aware of and think about how to address in the age of the fourth industrial revolution. Those challenges about benefits of it, reaching as many people in all countries of the world. It cannot be just Shanghai, Singapore, and New York. It has to be everywhere. It's about addressing, very cautiously addressing the risks that need to be mitigated and thought through before it's too late. And because this industrial revolution changes not only how we connect with each other, how we trade, how we produce, it changes because technology is becoming increasingly embedded in our decision-making, in our very bodies. It needs to remain human-centered. Now that brings me to the second part of the equation. That's the left part of the equation on the revolution. The right side of the equation is all about inclusive digital economy, which goes to the very heart of today's talk. When we talk about stakeholders, we need to not ignore, we obviously need to address the traditional groups that I have mentioned previously, but we need to take a big picture. We need to take environment as a stakeholder. We need to take emerging economies as a stakeholder. We need to include all the citizens and all the societies around the world. And we need to do that based on a knowledge, impartial and deep understanding of the issues. And for that reason, we at the World Economic Forum work a lot with our partners on strategic intelligence tools, such as, for example, this transformation map, which gives you a snapshot of the issues, connects you to the latest thinking from all the partners that we have, maps out the issues, the stakeholders, and gives you a very good snapshot as to allow your decision-making to be more inclusive. And I'm very proud to announce, as of a few days ago, these tools are now available on all of your Huawei devices. Thank you. Now, the World Economic Forum is working on many, many issues, and I'll give you just a snapshot of a few, because this example really brings together pretty much every theme. It brings the theme of healthcare, access, environment together. And that's where we try to do. We try to be the catalyst to move the positive action. Here's a challenge. A quarter of new mothers will not see their babies because they bleed out before that due to the lack of blood supplies. 1 billion people in the world, every 7th person, just count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, lack access to the critical medical supply. Sometimes it's the issue of access, sometimes it's the issue of distribution. So we worked with a few partners in Rwanda, with the government, with international organizations, with business partners on predictive analytics and distribution through drones of blood supply that would enable early intervention in cases where it's absolutely needed. That required changes of business models, that required changes in government policy, that required changes in behavior of the medical staff. It required the change management across all the stakeholder groups for the better good. There are a couple of examples that I would like to highlight of our work as well, because I think to some of you it will be very interested. To Huawei itself, to some of your NGO partners, we have numerous examples of our commitment to sustainability and the circular economy. And we do have an alliance for Global Tropical Forest Alliance, to which you're very welcome to join. But those are just a few examples of our commitment for circular economy, because as our theme for the next annual meeting will highlight, we strongly believe that all the shareholders, all the stakeholders need to come together for a more sustainable and inclusive world. Why? Because once again, as our chairman highlights again and again and again, is the fourth industrial revolution, or globalization 4.0, that this industrial revolution enables, need to be much more inclusive, much more sustainable, and much more collaborative than in the past. So thank you very much to all of our partners and for you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing your brilliant expertise with us. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce Ms. Victoria TECH4ALL, the co-founder of Dive Medical. Let's warmly welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Mr. Hu said before, there are 19 million visually disabled children in the world. I'm sure all of you can imagine how frustrating it may be for a young child to struggle to run into the playground, catch up with his friends, or even follow teachers' instructions. But so it is also for a baby who is starting to explore the world and to learn everything from it. We need vision to figure out how life works, to interact with others, and even to understand the feelings. So it's not only a visual issue. Visual impairment will interfere with the general development and social life. And in certain settings, up to 60% of the children becoming blind will die during the following 2 years. And here comes the most striking fact for me, and it's that 70% of these children could have an absolutely normal vision if the problem had been detected and treated early enough. The problem is that congenital or slowly progressive visual disorders may go unnoticed in very young children, since they are used to it and they are able to adapt to almost everything in life. So you may wonder how we can know whether a baby is seen properly or not. With the current tools, only highly experienced ophthalmologists can assess visual function in very young children. I am a pediatric ophthalmologist, and I would like to show you the way we do it. We show the children different toys, objects, or pictures, and we observe the way they react. And based on their behaviors, we estimate if they are seen properly or not. This is far from ideal, and as a result of that, many pathologies escape undetected until it's too late. We aim to improve that. Visual screening programs are the best tool to decrease the rate of undetected visual problems in children, and therefore to decrease the rate of later visual impairment, not only in childhood, but also in adult life. So we need to empower non-trained people from the community to identify these children who may have risk of having visual problems and to refer them to a specialist able to diagnose and treat them properly. As a first step, We need an easy-to-use, portable, and affordable device able to detect these visual problems as soon as possible, ideally when they are only babies. And this is the main goal of our Track AI project. We know that children with visual problems may look in a completely different way than children with normal vision. We can sit a child in front of a screen and present him with different visual stimuli, like the ones I'm showing you. And this is the way a child with normal vision would look at the pictures. The red dots correspond to his eyes moving over the screen. However, the gaze of a child with visual problems may look completely different, as you can see here. We need to perform an accurate visual screening in very young children who cannot communicate with us. So in order to do that, we are developing a system composed of a Huawei P30 smartphone and a new device called DIVE, Device for an Integral Visual Examination. And the doctor will use the P30 to control the whole system and also to manage data collection, which will be done by the DIVE device. We have been working on the development of DIVE for the past few years, and it is also the name of our startup, DIVE Medical. DIVE device presents several visual stimuli on a high-resolution screen from Huawei MateBook E laptop and captures the gaze of the children using an eye tracker. But analyzing gaze information is a really challenging task. So starting from DIVE platform and from the gaze analysis software, we are now incorporating artificial intelligence thanks to Huawei HiAI 2.0 platform. The HiAI 2.0 open platform has enabled us to access the capabilities of the Kirin chipset and has helped our engineers to develop the artificial intelligence model more efficiently. We are now able to find patterns in the way the children look at the pictures and to relate them to visual development and even to different pathologies. Running the artificial intelligence model in the P30 enables in real time an accurate and reliable screening of the visual functions. And this combination unleashes the potential not only to measure visual function in a really accurate way, but also to estimate the probability for the patients to have certain visual pathologies. But developing a system based on artificial intelligence requires information from thousands and thousands of patients. And during this unique collaboration between Huawei and our startup DIVE Medical, many ophthalmologists from 5 different countries across the world are collecting information from children with normal development and with a wide range of visual disorders. All this information gathered during the gaze data collection is being used to train the neural network. We have already examined more than 1,500 children of different ages and ethnicities, and we have a first prototype undergoing testing. We are also building a final system with a DIVE device and a P30 working together to provide a diagnosis probability for every patient. And we also have a first prototype of the whole system in testing phase. The unprecedented capabilities of the Huawei P30 enables DIVE device to reach out and to be useful for many people across the world, from an ophthalmologist in a hospital in UK to a family doctor in a remote place in Mexico. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals include a target to get universal health coverage by 2030 and has put the spotlight on the importance of improving eye care since it's so vital for many aspects of well-being. Its third goal is to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages, and is focused on finding new ways of funding sustainable universal health care. A portable and sustainable device run by non-trained people from the community, like the one I'm presenting today, could be a perfect solution for getting a universal and sustainable eye care for children. But now that we are close to have a functioning and validated system able to run an accurate visual screening in very young children from 6 months of age, we are already thinking about the next step. And this step is collaborating with different NGOs and social entities to bring this technology to many places excluded from healthcare. We are already working on it, and I think we will be able to start some of these projects during next year, 2020. We are facing a high-impact challenge, and the results of this project will indeed change the life of many children around the world. As researchers, we need support from technological companies to develop our projects, and Huawei has enabled us to bring this technology and specifically dive to every corner around the world. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Victoria, for your wonderful speech, and we also hope Track AI can help more and more visually impaired children. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we introduce the next speaker, I would like to show you a video about the beauty of the nature. Let's see.
To pose, now shush. She makes the sound she makes to calm me down. Oh.
Next, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Luo Xiping, the CEO of World Wildlife Fund China. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's such an honor to be here. WWF envision a world where people can live in harmony with nature as this collage of nature space and urban space together in a panda shape. WWF works in the last 5 decades across more than 100 countries, promoting sustainability, helping to ensure that we leave a planet, sustainable planet for our future generations. We work in China, starting from supporting the Chinese government on giant panda conservation in 1980, and for the last few years, few decades, we work across different areas. I want to bring us one step back, why we need to protect our planet. Simple. Because since the 1950s, since the great acceleration of everything, we have the acceleration of population, of economic development, of transport, and therefore using more energy, more water, more synthetic pesticides for our development, to meet our needs. Therefore, we are also increasing our impact on the environment. Increasing CO2 emission, leading to global warming, climate change, ocean acidification, the depletion of fish stocks in many parts of the world's ocean. WWF produces a health report for our planet every year. We call it a Living Planet Index. The Living Planet Index in the last 50 years has decreased by 52%. All the indicators are showing that our planet is in a very bad situation. Take, for example, the number of freshwater species has decreased by 81% in the last 5 decades. Clearly, this is not going to be sustainable for our future generation. We need to bend the curve for the future. Bending the CO2 emission curve, which we have seen CO2 emission peaking in the last few years, but also helping to stabilize biodiversity loss. If the current trend goes on, our generation and our children may be the generation of human beings on this planet that will witness many, many species extinguished in front of our eyes. We are now consuming 1.75 planet, and obviously we don't have 1.75 planets. We worked with the World Economic Forum earlier this year talking about the immediate challenge that we have to turn it around and make sure that our economy is working for not only people's well-being, but also for a sustainable future. So technology can help. Technology can play an important role and has played an important role in helping us to improve our conservation efforts. For example, 3 decades ago, WWF helped to introduce infrared camera trap into China. Through infrared camera trapping, we were able to better monitor wildlife populations. We can help to better prevent illegal poaching. And also, importantly, the photos and videos captured by infrared camera can be used to inspire the public the beauty of the natural environment around us. But with a new generation of technology available, maybe we can even upgrade and modernize the infrared camera technology into a new generation. Maybe we can even use AI to help us to differentiate those photos that have captured an animal and then transmit it immediately to anyone in the world with a mobile device and can see, oh, right now at this moment, there is a giant panda walking through monitoring station 65 in Sichuan somewhere. We can use technology to help to connect the emotion of people with nature. WWF has worked with Huawei in Italy using AI technology to translate the sound of communications amongst worlds into musical notes, creating music that people can understand, connecting people to the beauty of the worlds underwater, which normally we won't see, but there are so much in common that technology can bring us together. WWF also work in Australia using blockchain technology to improve the traceability of fisheries. We use it on, for example, Pacific tuna and also Patagonian toothfish to put the tag on the fish and then monitor where the fish goes, and then using blockchain technology to verify at each point of transaction where the fish goes. And then even to the extent that in the factory, when the fish is filleted, the blockchain codification can turn into a QR barcode where when the fillet ends up in a consumer's plate, a consumer can actually scan the code and make sure that the fish that he or she is eating is legal, is traceable, and is sustainable. Here we are in Shanghai, great city, most vibrant city in the world. In fact, in Shanghai, maybe you do not know, Shanghai is one of the most important habitats for birds, migratory birds, millions of them, just outside in Chongming Island in the Delta. So we are working with scientists to think about how we can use AI technology, facial recognition technology, to help us to do real-time, constant counting of birds, not only the numbers, but also the varieties of them, to help us to improve our conservation effort, and also to help to predict the seasonal changes, the migrational routes, to therefore be able to communicate to the next stopover for those birds, and help us to work with other conservationists along the Australia-Asia flyway. And also, conservation is carried out by many people. By the park rangers, we have hundreds, thousands of park rangers in China. Think about a park ranger helping to do anti-poaching work in northeast China where the tigers live. Typically, the park ranger will need to walk for several hours in a day, and then maybe even stationed in a wild camp, exposed to a lot of danger from wild animals, but also from other natural hazards. With technology, we can better monitor and locate the situation and the position of the ranger, and making sure that while they are working for us to defend nature, we are also ensuring that their health and well-being are being taken care of. And more importantly, the observation data that these park rangers collect could help us, through technology, be transmitted real-time to a big database, maybe on cloud, where we can better analyze those data and calculate for future use. Technology for good, technology for all. This is really important. Huawei believes in technology for all. WWF believes in people and nature thrive together. By all, we mean not only human being, but all the life form, all the species that we share in this planet, in this finite planet. Technology for all, therefore, help us to envision a future where it could be sustainable for all as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luo, for sharing how technology is helping in nature. Next, allow me to introduce Mr. Topher White, the founder and CEO of Rainforest Connection. Let's warmly welcome Mr. Topher White.
Hi, thanks a lot for your time today. All right, so we're going to begin by going into the rainforest. And when you go into the rainforest, when you're there, it's really the overwhelming sound that hits you the most the first time. There's so much going on, right? Just cacophony of noise that just kind of hits you from all these animals. You guys can hear that, right? Yeah. But there's some things that occasionally do kind of stick out. Some species kind of come to the core. For example, this is a hornbill. This is a really big bird. This is a cicada. And these are gibbons. It's amazing apes that swing through the trees and call to each other from great distances. So this is actually in Borneo. This is the first time I ever visited the forest. And again, it was these noises that really struck me about it. But it's really important to know, as I'm sure you all have heard, that the rainforest is very much under threat. And in fact, behind this cacophony of noise the entire time, there were actually chainsaws in the background that were going down. So if we wait for a second, it should actually come down. And so these chainsaws you hear now often permeate parts of the forest that we want to protect for these other animals that were hidden the entire time. So Rainforest Connection is my startup, a nonprofit tech startup in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, the other Silicon Valley on the other side of the planet. And our goal is to stop illegal logging, as we say right here, using technology. So what's possible? How are we going to make that happen? Well, our flagship product is this thing. The moment that a chainsaw is used in the forest, the sound is picked up by these devices in the trees. It goes to the cloud where we pick out the sounds and send an alert to people on the ground where they get an alert. They're like, what? And they jump on their motorcycles and they get out there and they stop the loggers on the spot in this very realistic rendition of what happens off in the forest, as you can imagine. But again, this is the forest, so you have to have some device to do that. This is what we call a guardian, a Rainforest Connection Guardian. These are solar panels where it can pick out the sunlight through the trees, and there's a microphone. But again, this is not Silicon Valley, it's not Shanghai, it's not Shenzhen. You have to sort of use what's already out there. It works in the forest, and there's pretty good cell phone service in the forest. So what do we use? We use an old Huawei smartphone. Actually, people from this company don't even recognize this phone anymore. This is a Huawei smartphone from 2009, 2010. It still works. We put them inside these devices in old boxes. They listen 24 hours a day, and they do exactly what we said in that video. There's a powerful microphone and some solar panels so they can stay powered. We put them high up in trees. This is me putting one together in my parents' garage a few years ago. Pretty easy, as you can see. But again, let's actually back up for a second and talk about the rainforest in general and why we want to protect it, right? We have always heard the rainforest is being destroyed. It used to cover a lot of the planet. Now it's less than half remains, but that's still half, right? And in 40 years, if the rate increases, rate maintains what it is, that could actually disappear. But on a larger sense, there may be even problems that we figured to be more urgent. So climate change, that thing we really need to take care of this generation. Deforestation actually accounts for almost a fifth of all the carbon emissions worldwide every year. That's more than all the transportation, all the cars, trucks, ships, trains, airplanes combined. None of that adds up to the CO2 emissions from deforestation, right? And up to 90% of the logging in the rainforest is illegal. And there's a mandate to stop it. And there's people on the ground who would. So if we can build technology to actually help them stop the logging, we can take a huge chunk out of this 20%. And here's why. So illegal logging, that which makes up 90%, is actually so profitable that that's what they'll actually use to create those roads. They'll go and take the big trees. And those roads don't actually take out all the trees, but those roads lead to farms that burn the rest. So the roads are the biggest problem with the forest, and the roads are created by illegal logging. If you can stop illegal logging, you can stop the roads. If you stop the roads, you can stop the deforestation, and you can take a huge chunk out of the annual equation for climate change. So here's actually where the calculus comes from. One of these guardians, because sound really travels through the forest, one of these guardians can cover 3 square kilometers in terms of what it can hear. It can hear a chainsaw very far away. That's 15,000 tons of CO2, equivalent to 3,000 cars off the road for a year. So one old Huawei smartphone, 10 years old, up in a tree with the right people there on the ground, can actually be equivalent to taking 3,000 cars off the road for a year. It might be the cheapest, fastest way for us to fight climate change today is to use technology to help aid people in stopping deforestation. Again, this is automatic, so we want to listen and pick out the sounds of chainsaws, which we can do automatically. This one's pretty obvious. Nothing too fancy about that. But actually, let me take you into one of our existing projects in the field. So we've been putting this out there in the field. We're going to go to Brazil. If you go to Brazil, what you see is this ocean of deforestation with a few islands of pretty intact forest. And one of these is the Tembe territory. It's about 2,500 square kilometers of forest, inhabited by this tribe right here. And up to 80% of their land was occupied by illegal loggers and illegal settlers and drug cartels when we first met them in 2015. So using this technology to set it up, and again, this is our web UI. We're able to pick out automatically the sounds of chainsaws. You guys can hear that, right? Chainsaws? Okay. So this is about where our system was. We're able to get out there and in time. Again, this all happens in real time. So the ability is for us to be able to get out there and actually stop these things on the spot. In this case, the tribe was waiting at the end of the road where they stopped the truck, seized the equipment, arrested the loggers, burned the trucks, and made sure that they couldn't actually go back into their land anymore. Just one of these guys right here, one of these rangers in the field, can have so much effect on climate change, more effect than dozens of engineers at Tesla. Again, they can be taking tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cars off the road, the equivalent of that, just by their work. So our job is to build technology for them. But it turns out that the way they do it is actually pretty we don't want to be sending false alerts. We don't want to be getting it wrong. And over the years we've been doing this, it turns out that we would actually get it wrong very often. We'd think there was a chainsaw, and there wasn't. But we met Huawei, and Huawei said, we can do even better for you. They said they can help us to actually improve the chainsaw model to be more effective. And so they helped us with the help of Huawei Cloud and Model Arts to actually build a better chainsaw, more effective model. And this is actually from yesterday morning. You can see September 17th at 9:30 a.m. in Indonesia. More effective, and here's a much more distant chainsaw. So this was done just in the last few months with Huawei. So they've helped us to improve our models, help us to improve the detection for the people on the ground. Really huge. And that's what really gives us great confidence in the projects we have right now. As Ken said, 10 countries, 5 continents, 2,500 square kilometers of forest protected all over the world. But again, we're just getting started. And again, even beyond this, it's not just about the forest to protect, it's about how do we get this data to the people, right? And so every single one of these guardians, these phones, these old phones in the trees, is streaming all the sound from the forest, and anyone can download an app and listen to any one of our guardians in the field. And it sounds pretty magical. The forest at all times, 24/7. It was even more than that, right? So it's obviously not just chainsaws in the forest. There's lots of animals making noise. And so how do we make use of AI and Huawei Cloud to be able to actually pick out these different animals? Well, that's where the bioacoustics comes in. So Huawei, we teamed up with us. They were able to build a model for detecting spider monkeys, a very important species in Costa Rica and beyond. I'll move forward a little bit. So this is actually a really interesting moment. Spider monkeys, as you can imagine, usually only make noise in the day. They're awake in the day, they sleep at nighttime. And this is actually from June. We ran the spider monkey model, and it said the spider monkeys are making a lot of noise at midnight. And so we actually were like, what's up with that? So we listened in, and if you guys listen here, you can see that there was this massive earthquake at about 15 minutes to midnight. Oh no, 20 minutes after 11 in Costa Rica. You can hear the tree shaking around. It's pretty dramatic if you're in the tree. And as soon as that was over, the spider monkeys woke up. Well, they woke up during the earthquake, we can assume. And they started yelling to each other, like, what was that? As you heard the tree was shaking around. So this is an indicator. We never would have known about this earthquake, but the spider monkeys themselves told us about it by this yelling, which went on for quite a while. You can see the insects up the top. They actually come back in play after a little while, but the spider monkeys go for a while. Now, that's about detection. What's really interesting is when we met Huawei originally, we said, we would like you to help us detect spider monkeys and build a better chainsaw model. And they said, yes, we will help you detect spider monkey language. We will understand spider monkey language, and we will make it possible for us to know the emotions and the sentiment of the monkeys. And it turns out they were able to put that together pretty quickly, and this month we'll be actually rolling that out by the end of the month, so I can share that with you another time. But what's next is not just about spider monkeys, it's about the entire soundscape of the forest. So in this case, imagine if we could tell everything that's happening in the forest at the same time, map it out, display it for people, as you see right here. So instead of one species, you have all the species. You get to look at this over hours, days, weeks, months, years, and with big data techniques, sketch out the ecological relationship between all these species and begin to detect things that you never would have known before. This is what we're building right now with Rainforest Connection platform, as well as Huawei Cloud and Model Arts. I look forward to sharing that with you later. Look, because of this collaboration, because of the work we do, because of the real need for this and the partnerships, in the next year, this is the amount of impact we expect to have. 6,000 square kilometers of forest saved, 450 years worth of audio that can be run in that platform to make ecological discoveries. And that amount of forest saved is equivalent to 6 million cars off the road, 400 million trees, 30 million tons of CO2. This is not because of the work we do, it's because the forest is that valuable. And there's people there who would protect it if they just had the right tools. And we can provide those tools, and Huawei can make them better. And that's what we're here to prove. So thanks a lot for this collaboration and for the chance to talk to you about it.
Thank you, Mr. Topher Wai, for your fantastic sharing. Next, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce Ms. Catherine Du, Director of Global Marketing for Huawei Cloud Business Unit. Let's warmly welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much. And also good afternoon to all you on site and online, because I know there are a lot of people is watching now, live shows now online. The topic I'll cover in my speech today is mainly about how Huawei Cloud strive to pass on tech for all. As Mr. Hu mentioned in the first speech, there are three priorities which can best leverage our strengths. They are technology, application, and scale. When the whole world is entering the era of cloud and AI, Huawei Cloud is playing more and more important in all three. Just like Topher mentioned, Huawei Cloud is helping like rainforest protection and even more. So today I will elaborate the details with some three stories. Okay, so the first story is about AI. I think today all the speakers here, distinguished guests here, you have shared many interesting stories already. So I just wanted to mention maybe the latest one. Last year, we firstly in the field, we proposed 3 application scenarios for AI. The first one, we call it repetitive high volume work, which can greatly improve the efficiency. For example, like the OCR ticket identification. The secondly, we call it the expert experience with AI enhancement. And this normally like the AI enhanced diagnosis. And the third one, we call it is beyond the human intelligence, like very complicated kind of situation, like a city traffic management, especially like the city like Shanghai metropolitan cities. And among all the 3 scenarios, the second one, expertise with AI enhancement, is especially very valuable. As I mentioned before, today I bring you some latest story. So this is something about a kind of very scary disease we call the brain aneurysm. This aneurysm, even the word is very unfamiliar to me. Then I learned some information of this one. Then I got to know this is a silent but deadly killer. This is a major cause for the severe strokes. The fatality rate for the second rupture, that means broken, okay, is as high as 70%. So this is really scary, and so the early diagnosis and treatment are extremely very important. However, to diagnose this brain aneurysm, there are 3 challenges, major ones. The first one, this is quite interesting, very difficult. The first one is the positions of this aneurysm are multiple, and the shapes are diverse. And this means it brings very high requirement for the doctor. Okay, the first one. Second one, normally it takes 20 minutes for one doctor to review one single patient's CTA film. And normally there's 2 doctors, a double-check mechanism will be deployed in the hospital to ensure the results. So this means what? Compared to the huge population here in China, and this means it's very heavy workload for the doctor, and the high-quality doctor are really rare. And thirdly, also is kind of situation currently is, the mediation diameter under 5 millimeter, we call the micro or small aneurysm. So this kind of small or micro aneurysm is very easy to be misdiagnosed. It's prone to misdiagnosed. And normally the median diameter of Chinese patients is just about 5 millimeter. In order to solve all these challenges, meet all these challenges, just like how we protect the rainforest, Huawei Cloud AI team, we work together with the hospital, and also it's a very famous one in Shanghai, hospital and the partner. We developed the different models. The models for one single CT film and the models for the multiple ones. We're developing and training the model on Huawei Cloud. And then after working together, and I think the latest result is really very inspiring. We have shortened the time of reviewing the CT film, one single film, from 20 minutes to 30 seconds. I think this can greatly shorten the time, right, of the doctors. And also for the multiple ones, even for the multiple ones, multiple images or the films tracking, we can shorten it from 1 hour time, about 1 hour time, to 60 seconds. And even this is not enough, right? We don't want the time shortage, we also want accuracy, right? So I think the AI gives us a very good result. And after this training, the AI accuracy of the diagnosis can almost close to 100%. And at this moment, the project is still going on, and we're going to helping more and more patients. So there's something about AI technology. Next story, very interesting. I would like to talk something about smart city. Smart city is not a very new concept. It's already quite popular for a long time. So today I bring you a city called Yingtan, a city in Jiangxi province. The city is named after ripples in the pond, eagles hovering above, 涟漪旋其中，雄鹰舞其上而得名. So this city is very ancient, very famous one previously. It's Millennium City, but currently it is very famous, getting more and more popular because it's a leading smart city deployments. We live and work in city. Every day we are getting access to multiple applications, right? From starting of your journey the whole day. And after smart city deployment in Yingtan, at this moment, there are over 30 smart city applications, really bringing benefits to the citizen and bringing the benefits for the government as well, and also for the economy. And today, I would like to highlight one of the interesting applications, just like highlight here in yellow, the water purification. We know that the water is valuable, right? The oceans or the water. And of course, the drinking water is extremely valuable, important. Before we installed, we call it a water purifier, and this one is getting more popular now in China. However, although we install this purifier at home, we can't tell exactly the quality. How about the water quality after purification? And when should I replace the filter? Then the one term, we call it IoT water purifier. And this one solves all these problems. The IoT water purifier, the sensors in it, they collect the data and upload the data to the cloud. So the cloud will analyze all the data collected and then give the feedback of the quality. So people now in Yingtan, they can judge the quality of the water by specific data instead of just by taste. And also they will be well in time notified by about what the time you need to replace your filter. So the whole family, the drinking water quality will be greatly ensured. Okay. Okay, sorry. That is all these things about, okay, I'm talking about the technology, I'm talking the application. And next, I would like to share you one short video. Please play the video, please. Yes,
你也许无法想象，当你的家被垃圾山包围，是一种什么感觉？为了解决这个问题，我开始投入到垃圾减量和分类当中。7年来，我参加了大大小小800多场的公益活动，分类近500吨的垃圾，但对深圳来说，微不足道。20分钟就能学会的垃圾分类标准，大家都觉得太麻烦。垃圾分类真的就这么难吗？我叫徐凯兰，有人叫我垃圾婆，但现在我也是人工智能训练师。起初，一个小姑娘跟我说，用 AI 来做垃圾分类 很方便。我当时不知道 AI 能做什么事情，只觉得是一件很厉害的事。我们给小区里的垃圾拍照，给他们命名和分类。华为云技术专家教我如何根据分类标准，把垃圾的照片归档。当 AI 学会分类标准之后，就能自动分别出垃圾的种类，大家做垃圾分类不头痛了，也就更加主动了。我是徐凯兰，虽然我不懂技术，但我相信人工智能，它帮助我这样一个小人物守护家园。
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Just as you have seen in this video, improving digital skills, especially for those who don't have very strong technical background, is a mission of Huawei Cloud. So we provide not only the service, also platforms like the model arts, development platform, and enabling programs. Okay. Sorry then. So, open the technology competence, enabling more and more creative applications, and most important, improving digital skills, are the missions. And Huawei Cloud, we are ready, and I want to join hands with you for a fully connected, intelligent world. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Please stay on stage for a while. So, at the end of our summit, we would like to invite all the distinguished guests and our speaker come to the center of the stage. Let's come to the stage for the group picture to memorize this unforgettable moment. Let's give a round of applause to all our speakers. Okay, so the first picture will be a hand-in-hand picture, please. Okay, we would like to invite all the speakers hand-in-hand for the first picture. 让我们有请各位嘉宾携手同行，共同来扩大数字包容的成果。同时，我们也期待更多的个人和组织可以加入到我们的团队当中，共同来践行科技普济天下。We hope to bring the benefit of the ICT technology